Today's video is going to be about how to mix glitter and epoxy. So basically what we're going to do is, usually instead you would either do Mod Podge or some type of adhesive and you would spray it, and then you sprinkle the glitter on. You put some type of sealing over, some type of seal coat over it, you wait for it to dry, then you put the epoxy on. So this tutorial is showing you how to mix the glitter and the epoxy, so you don't have to go through that. So you can skip that step and put it on all at one time. So once you put it on and it dries, you can go ahead and put your decal on and then put your second coat up there, and you skip the step of having to let your glitter dry. And I just want you to see how it turns out, so you can see if that's something that you rather do. So the epoxy that I got it from Hobby Lobby. It has a part A and part B, like most of them do. One side of it is like a more liquidy, like it flows more liquidy, and the other one is like more thick, like syrup kind of. And in this case, B is like the one that's liquidy, A is the thick one. So usually whenever I mix epoxies, I usually put the more liquid one first. Because if you put the thicker one first, it's kind of harder to scrape up from the bottom. So I put the, the more liquid one on bottom, the thicker one on top. It's easier to mix. Part A, part B. Thing about these are, you need to put them on like a level where you can like kind of look and see, because they have to be the same amount that's in here is the same amount in here. That's why I like using these cups, because it has the numbers on the side and it lets you see exactly how much you're putting in there, so you can measure it the exact way. It cures a lot easier and quicker when it's the same exact amount. If it's not the same amount, it'll take longer to cure. It might not cure at all. Be very, very sticky when you get finished with it. So if you notice that that's what's happening, very sticky and stuff like that, it's probably what happened is you either didn't put the same amount or you didn't mix it long enough. So I said I was going to do 20 and 20. So in this case right here, I got a little bigger cup, and this because I'm going to be mixing the glitter in it, and I don't want to mix too much in here because I just don't want it to be too much. So I'm going to use one of these cups right here to pour it in. And I'll use one of these to put the glitter in, so I don't put too much glitter. So let me go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to put that right there. That's the glitter that I'm going to mix with the epoxy. Gloves. Use gloves. This, when I tell you it's sticky, understatement. You have no idea. If it gets on your hands or anything that it shouldn't be on, super hard to come off. You definitely don't want it on your hands. Anytime you're working with epoxy, make sure you have gloves. So 20, 20, I'm gonna face them towards me. I'm gonna face the numbers towards me so I can see. This is part A, and I'm gonna do 20. There's 20 exactly in this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's 20. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. One is so much easier to pour because, like I said, it's like more liquid. Take these, we can put these back. Okay. Now it's 20 for both. This is another thing I like to use when using epoxy wax paper, because when it gets on it, it's a great way to clean it up. Like if it gets on it, it doesn't really damage it or anything. It just dries up hard on it, or I just usually use it for it's the best thing I know to use, so that you don't make a mess and to make cleaning up a whole lot easier. So put these little pots to the side. I'm gonna put this down. So I probably should have did that first, but whatever. Put those up here. Part A, part B. Here's my glitter. Here's my cup. Remember what I said. The one that has more of the liquid, you pour that in. I will pour that in first. It makes it easier to pour. So take your popsicle stick, scrape it out. Make sure you get what you can off of it. And make sure you can scrape in this stage of it when you're getting it out of the initial cup. But once you pour it onto your product, you cannot scrape. So you do all your scraping before it's time to pour. This is part B. You see how that one is, you see how it pour out more. You scrape all of that out. So after you do that, you know, put that to the side. You will start to stir any other time if you wanted, you know, how you would do initially if you already had the glitter on and you would start to stir the epoxy or whatever. But in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and start stirring because you wanna see it curing. You don't want to put the glitter in it yet. I wouldn't, because when you're stirring epoxy and you first start, you can tell how it's real clear now, but the more you start to stir, it starts to look cloudy. So you stir it, it starts to look cloudy, but the more you stir, the clearer it gets, and by the time it's finished, you should be able to look through the bottom of the cup and see through the bottom. So like right there, you can't, you know, you see how it's very, very cloudy. Which is why I said I wouldn't put the glitter in first, because once you start to stir it and it starts to get clear, you know it's, you know, it's being mixed properly. I would put the glitter in then once I see it clearing up, so you know you don't have that long to stir. You don't get confused for timing purposes. Another thing about this epoxy, you don't stir too fast, but you don't stir too slow. If you stir too fast, you create a lot of bubbles, which you're gonna get bubbles regardless. Let me show you. You could see that. You're gonna get bubbles regardless. You can get them out with the heat gun, but you stir. Like I said, this is your time that you can scrape. You know, scrape off the edges. You know, scrape it off the popsicle stick. You stir until it's clear. That it's gonna have some bubbles in it. But if you take, like, here's my heat gun right here. I need a new one. So here's my heat gun right here. If you take it, and I'll put the link to where I got this from Amazon too in the bio. But if you take it and you just like go over it, you'll start to see the bubbles disappear. What I would do now at this point, you see that? So that's epoxy and there's glitter in it. Whenever you do mix the epoxy, you do not want to let it sit out too long. It'll start drying, it'll start heating up. Like, that's not good. You don't want to do that. So once you mix your epoxy, you kind of want to go ahead and get on it and go ahead and put on what you need to put on. And I know on YouTube, I mean on Pinterest and stuff, they have like guides and conversions on how much you probably should use. But once I turn that last little bit over and I get this last little spot, these last little spots that I didn't get the first time, then I'll put the spinner on and let it go around while I just make sure, while I just do this, make sure that everything is covered. I'm just gonna go over this slightly. Getting bumps out. here.